Comic Book Syndicate, assemble!
Yeah!
We're back.
Comic books!
We're back. We're back with Batman. Now this book, you're going to take it from here.
This is the Court of Owls story. This is Scott Snyder from American Vampire. He's created this mystery about a secret society that is apparently orchestrating things from behind the scenes in Gotham. And then as the story goes on, the mystery gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And then you find out that when Bruce Wayne's parents were murdered, he investigated the Court of Owls then, and then he found evidence that they didn't exist. And so,
which was ridiculous. But
in any case, you know, combined with the art of Greg Capullo, I think this is freaking awesome, and I can't give this thing a higher recommendation.
Okay,
I
so
absolutely
now
love it.
Now that you've told everyone how great it is,
yes,
let's talk about it and see if it's really that great.
Sure.
I don't really buy into conspiracy theories. I thought the whole storyline was too Da Vinci Code, you know, for the first few issues.
I was going to ask you, did you buy into the whole mystery? That was my question. Okay, no, keep going.
So you didn't like the mystery?
No, I just find it, you know, unbelievable.
Okay.
I'm with him. He doesn't believe it. I'm like, I'm with you. I don't believe it. I usually don't agree with Batman, but I was agreeing with him.
Okay.
I like that a lot. But the artwork did draw me in, I have to say.
Okay.
Is that a pun?
Yes.
I like that. I like that.
I caught that reference.
And now I know what a pun is. A pun is when you say it and it means the same thing. I just discovered that. Look at that.
Is it the fact that he is damaged? Is that just so obvious when you look at the movies? You look at you read the older books. You read the newer books. Is it just too obvious?
He's becoming more obviously damaged. I think we're having more access to him psychologically than the 50s version.
Sure. Yes.
Well,
Absolutely.
because again, in the 50s, everything's hunky-dory, right? Like, what's the worst thing that can happen?
My parents were killed. He's a different Batman.
They don't dwell on that.
But there was a couple parts, like when he starts explaining how I investigated it, and when after my parents were murdered, this was my first case as a detective. 8 years old, man.
Yes, he's Batman.
Whatever, he's Batman. He's 8 years old.
Super sleuth.
And yeah, he's a super sleuth. He goes and climbs into this mansion. He gets locked into the attic, whatever. And then he's like, and damn it, they didn't exist. You're 8 years old, man.
At that point, he's so against the idea of a conspiracy theory that no matter what...
he was so for a conspiracy theory.
At that point, but when he's explaining it to Dick Grayson, he's like, see, I already investigated when I was 8 and I proved it wasn't real. And Dick Grayson's like, no, it is real. And then over the course of the story, he finds all this evidence that it actually is real, that they have been orchestrating things. And there's a twist ending that we can't even give away here because when you read it, right?
He knows it's real when he's getting a beat down.
Yeah, when he's getting the beat down by that guy.
He does get a beat down pretty good.
Yes, he does.
And up until the very end, and I can't give it away, when the guy reveals who he really is, just completely ridiculous.
Awesome. I love that.
Owls eat bats.
Everything that he researches on owls becomes a metaphor for what the Court of Owls is. Owls don't make their own nests; they use other birds' nests.
The Talon has great goggles.
There's a secret level on this building, which is where the Court of Owls have been all along.
But,
He never realized it.
okay, but-
and then
but
he's like, "Oh, I've always felt like there's eyes watching me from the Court of Owls."
Alan Moore did that.
Yes,
Of course,
Watchmen.
of course, you're
and
right.
not to say that they should have done this. I would totally, but in the owl thing aside, it should have been done a long time ago. It was done, actually. There is an Owl Man.
Yeah, there's an Owl Man.
alternate universe Owl Man. And I think this was a great story, but the artwork was... I hated it at first. I grew into it. It took me time to grow into it.
I hated it at first, too.
His noses and his chins and his faces were just like...
The bloody teeth going flying.
But the design of the owl costume...
It's good.
Oh
Guys,
God, they were so cool.
There are people drawing comics right now who have no right to do it because they can't do anatomy, they have no sense of design. This guy knows anatomy and he knows design, and you can tell that he whips up these pages very quickly, but with correct anatomy and with a very fluid sort of gesture.
By the end of the story, it was brilliant art.
Well, maybe
he does a great storytelling.
Sure, like the cape flows and the ears.
As a working artist, as a professional, definitely I could read any of the stories that he'll illustrate for sure. I don't think he's a Van Gogh, but you know what I mean. Like as a working stiff, great work.
Working stiff? No.
You know what really bothered me? When it went to like the pages went sideways.
Oh my God!
That's so cool.
Julie.
And the eye metaphor. So the owl is the omnipresent eye in the sky. There's the great goggles that are kind of steampunk kind of
Yeah,
goggles.
they were cool goggles.
Eyes all over the place. You know, lenses, photography. There's a camera in the labyrinth. Insane. So happy every time I saw a little eye metaphor.
But it's interesting because it's almost like something Alfred Hitchcock would do with like bird imagery, bird imagery, bird imagery. There's so much thought by Scott Snyder and I'm sure Greg Capullo put into it.
I don't even like comic books. I don't even care for Batman. I like this.
So you think this is something that might encourage you to read more other comics?
Do other artists do those kinds of metaphors? 'Cause
Some.
then maybe I would.
Some, yeah. Alan
Some.
Moore, maybe.
Do you enjoy visual art?
How about this? If you had to rate it out of 5 sons, again, 5 being the best.
I give it a 5.
All right.
No, it's a solid 4. Anyone could read this. A young person, an older person. It's brilliant. It's wonderful.
Okay.
So isn't it a 5 then?
I don't like his faces. He draws terrible faces.
Anyway, I think it's great.
Half-owl Batman cover.
Anyway,
I didn't like it.
some issues of this are a 5, but overall a 4.5.
One of the better series I've read in a long time. Like one of the better. I'll give it a 3.5. But ultimately, I mean, Scott Snyder is a very good writer. Let's take a look at Scott Snyder.
Oh, see that.